Hello! What's up, fellas?
What's up? What's up?
I'm getting a dual playback over here. Cancel echo. Oh, okay, we're back. Hello, welcome back to Ranked 2023, y'all. I'm Charles.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Nathan.
So we'll be here every week, 8 p.m. Eastern, talking about a new release for the rest of 2023 to generate our sacred list. So far, we just have M3GAN on there, which we all recommended. We all liked.
That was good.
Yeah. But anyway, first, members toast. A toast to the members. Nans?
A toast to the members. Yes, apparently we've dropped some and gained some, so we're just gonna read them again. The Entertainer, Barrel Rider 26, Lemmy is God, QWERTY Manor. We've got Guartonium, Spectre Chair Engineer, Nico, Chris Marasco, Andrew A, P Wilkinson, Drink Up 44, and Dave M.
We never really
thank you, members.
Brought up Spectre Chair Engineer and how funny that name is.
I think I laughed at it last time, but that's good.
Yeah, my head goes.
But
right
yeah,
to
thank you,
Thunderball
members.
with,
If you're not a member,
chair.
consider becoming one. Like, subscribe, super chat, normal chat.
If you want adult
Super Yank.
humanoids, we are the future shirt. You can find them below any one of our videos.
It's amazing.
Yeah, mine hasn't shown up yet, but I look forward to it. I'll probably.
I still need to order mine.
Wear that. We'll get on it, dude.
I need to
stop making excuses. Anyway, so we saw a movie called Plane, starring these two knuckleheads. Okay, wait. On the left, that's Captain Brodie Torrance. On the right, that is a guy named Gaspare. But anyway, here we are, everyone. Fuck you, it's January has officially arrived because we just watched a movie called Plane, the most appropriately titled film of the year thus far, because it's just that. Plain, as in generic, vanilla, a burger with no condiments or toppings and barely any meat. It is exactly what one might expect from a movie simply titled Plane. Captain Brodie Torrance is the captain of Plane, and he flies plane through an electrical storm. Plane go down along with about a dozen passengers, including a dangerous prisoner transferee named Gaspare, because that definitely happens on commercial flights. Torrance manages to land Plane safe, only to discover Plane land in hostile territory run by a violent militia group. These barbaric ruffians kidnap all the passengers of Plane, but not before Torrance and Gaspare manage to run off into the jungle and find some guns. Will this unlikely pair rescue the passengers before they're all dead? Will Torrance ever get back to his stupid daughter? Will Gaspare find redemption by shooting a bunch of bad guys in the face? I found out because I saw the movie, but I still don't know anything about these people, so I don't care. McCurdy, anything fun to know about this movie?
Wow.
I look forward to knowing if you agree or not, but
no. See, well, I'll tell you the trivia first. Okay, so let me start over here.
I'm actually very excited to hear if there's anything interesting
I'm excited
to know about this movie called Plane.
Maybe the trivia is more interesting than the movie.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I may have spiced it up a little much more than I thought I needed to. Let me put it that way.
Please, yeah. Again, this is a burger with hardly any meat. Throw some toppings on it, please.
I'll throw some toppings. Okay, so
please,
and I'm going to tie this into our own show because, as we all know, Gerard Butler, he is a Bond alumni. Okay, guys, he was an extra, and he probably grabbed the hot dog, and they probably told him he'd never work in Hollywood again. That's an inside joke. Hot dog.
Nobody's gonna know what you're talking about, but
somebody will. We'll
get to that. Fan by the end of the episode,
somebody will
talk about the hot dog.
Someone will do it now.
Yeah, I don't know what you guys are talking about.
So Plane's directed by Jean. Oh crap, I forgot his name. Francois Riquet. I don't know. I don't speak French.
Director.
Yes, director. Written by Charles Cummings and J.P. Davis. Story by Charles Cummings. So Charles Cummings pitched the story He's a Scottish novelist. He primarily writes spy fiction, which is a lot of what we talk about on the show. Along with our Bond series, his novel, Foreign Country, is one of his novels, won the CWA Ian Fleming Steel Dagger, which I don't know what that award looks like, but I would imagine it's a Steel Dagger. So it's kind of in the realm of what we've been talking about. We've been talking about the Bond movies for, forever. So it's kind of in the wheelhouse, sort of. It's a really bad distant cousin. So Jean-Francois is best known for the 2005 remake of Assault on Precinct 13, which I've never seen. And then I did watch the interviews for this movie. Like I watched basically the electronic press kit for this whole movie. He said that he focused on the film was to be realistic, and I will go into more detail about how I feel about that. He wants to make this movie for a diverse market, not just for Americans, hence why the cast isn't just from the U.S. There's obviously
everybody has an American accent, but they're like, I'm from Hong Kong. Like, are you though?
Yeah. So everyone's from different parts of the world. Interesting fact, the film's foreign title was Alerta Extrema, which basically translates to Extreme Alert, which would have been maybe a better title than just plain.
Anything would have been a better title. This is like a classic case of this movie is going to be nothing and it's not going to be memorable. So just slap it the most generic title on as possible and just get it out.
I thought maybe they meant High Alert was the best translation, but Extreme Alert, I don't care. It's probably a better title than plain for sure.
Extreme.
The whole film was shot in Puerto Rico. And if you watch the movie, you can see they can utilize different parts of Puerto Rico. I bet you even the airport was also filmed at Puerto Rico, leaving from where were they leaving? Hong Kong, right? Or was it
either Hong Kong or Singapore or something?
Yeah, I think they were leaving from Singapore, correct? Yeah. So they could have. I believe they probably also used the airport there as well. Let's see. And then they were saying, like, many of the actors, while I was watching the interviews, they were talking about, like, it was really hot. It was like 100 degrees most of the days they were filming out by the plane. So yeah, it was probably really humid. The plane in plane. This is when I got really nerdy with my descriptions here. This is like the tomato, Charlie. This is the tomato of that burger.
Yes.
So the plane in plane is the combination of the model MD-80 and the A320.
Fascinating.
And I know that's not that fascinating. So they had to do basically what they did was they had two different versions of the plane because one, they wanted to avoid copyright issues with the model of the plane, but also because they wanted the freedom to do what they needed to with the plane.
You don't want Boeing to be like, "Hey, that's our A320."
And it crashed.
Look good for us.
So it
doesn't have stairs in the back.
They had one plane that they used obviously on set, and then they had one that they had stripped down and put on a gimbal for all of the scenes where there's facing all the turbulence in the plane. And then also I thought it was interesting because I was like, do most airplanes have what they call air stairs? Is what the stairs that are in the back of the plane. I'm like, do most planes have that? The MD-80 does. And I thought it was also funny as they talk about in the movie the planes being indestructible. But like I looked it up, these planes are from the 1980s, like developed in the late 70s, started around the 80s. So these planes are really, really old.
Defined indestructible. I mean, a plane literally crashed today, right? In India.
But I think in the beginning of the movie, he's like, when they're getting on the plane, they're like, wow,
he's just
so old. And it's like, it's an old plane. Like they've been around for a while.
But they generally have I think they usually have an exit at the back, right? Like not an emergency exit.
No.
Of course they have an emergency exit, but don't they for crew to get on?
Not all. No, not all planes.
Maybe
have
for
that.
luggage for the bottom.
That was So when I was reading about, like, I was doing my whole nerd research about the planes. The MD-80 does. The A320 doesn't. So it was obviously they kind of had to like. It doesn't matter because it's a freaking plane. No one's gonna know the difference. But they had to be like, oh yeah, let's get the and you. From a filmmaking standpoint, it makes sense why they did that because they were like, well, when we sequence later in the movie, how are they going to get on a plane? It's going to be awkward if they have to like climb a little ladder. So let's like get a plane that has little stairs in the back, So that to me, made sense.
And there are certain things throughout the movie that are we've been, I've been cutting Casino, and we talk about that a lot. Certain corners are cut to just make the movie better, and having the stairs there is better than not. They do. But one thing I would like to know, if either of you or anybody watching knows, do they ever transfer prisoners on commercial flights? Or is that a movie convenience factor? Because
I don't know if it is, but
like that's a part of the movie that is just that's a lot of suspension of disbelief to follow with that.
Like on a commercial, specifically on a commercial flight.
Hey,
when we got Brittany Griner back or
they,
whatever her name is, was she on a normal commercial flight?
Well, she wasn't a violent prisoner, you know.
True.
Like she was like to the Russians, she was a prisoner, but to us, she was just like some pot smoking.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna fly in private or anything, though.
So, but the point being that like, okay, here's this. For all we know, it's a rapist, and then these two teenage girls are like, "Hey, can we sit next to you?" You know, it's like this is a bad idea, you know. But whatever, go on, please.
According to the very first thing I got when I Googled, prisoners fly in commercial airlines based on the circumstances of their extradition.
Well, I mean, you could, if that's the case, they could have been like, well, he's not dangerous.
It was murder.
In the fact that he's gonna, it was murder.
15 years ago.
It was murder. It wasn't like white collar crime. It was murder.
No, but we know that it's like, okay, he murdered somebody, but obviously he's a like Marine type person, so maybe he killed somebody, and we don't. I mean, in a lot of times in the cases of murder, it's I murdered somebody for like a personal motive, not because I'm just going around killing. He's not a serial killer.
That gets to the main point of probably why we're gonna dock this movie is fleshing out the characters. We don't get.
Let's get to that in a second. Let me finish. The toppings.
Trivia.
I got a couple of. I got some.
You got some more toppings.
I got some more toppings. Okay.
Give me some lettuce.
The production. So this production, they had to create that entire runway set, which blows my mind because that
sounds expensive.
Yeah. So they had to. And speaking of expensive, the movie's supposedly $25 million, but originally I thought it was $40 million, which is crazy to me because if you think about it, the movie we talked about last week was $12 million. This movie is a much more.
Wow.
But that more. And then also, I know a lot of people have talked about this movie as a 90s action movie, and it's hilarious to me because I as I'm watching this press kit, it's like everyone brings that up, and I'm like, did someone tell you to say that? Because I think that's like the best way for you to be like, well, you know, you can get around it by saying it's a 90s action film. And then Gerard Butler was also a producer on this film. A lot of the crew and people applauded him for like trying to be very detailed and very realistic with all of like where, you know, how does he fly the plane, how does he hold a gun, all this other stuff. And then you got it's Leonidas and Luke Cage team up in this movie, guys. Leonidas and Luke Cage, they team up. So you got Mike Coulter, best known for Luke Cage. They team up. This is plain. Also, okay, other random thing. Tony Goldwyn plays Scarsdale, the crisis management guy. It's probably one of my favorite characters in this movie, maybe because he's just
the bald guy.
Very more interesting.
No, the guy
they hire.
The guy they hire that tells them to like shut the fuck up, like they're running for their lives. Like, I've
got my team on it.
Yeah. All that stuff.
The guy, the guy looking for them.
So he's in this movie,
right? The guy looking for them.
Yeah, this isn't that big of a. I didn't know this, but he's the voice of Tarzan.
Okay,
like that's
this
like
trivia is going deep. Jesus,
guys.
Okay.
Remember? Oh wait, we talked, Charlie. Remember we talked about the two hot co-eds, right? Two hot co-eds. One of the two hot co-eds is a Victoria's Secret model and a Playboy Playmate of the month, September of 2016. That was Kelly Gale.
One of those girls?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, they looked like they were 15.
I know. Don't care about that. Don't care about that. Okay, this actually I did find interesting. This actually I did find legitimately interesting.
Something interesting, finally.
Remy Ackley. I'm not good with pronunciation. We all know this. He plays Shellback. He's the head of like the mercenary team that comes to rescue them. Spoilers.
Yeah.
So that guy actually joined the military He was in the Bronx. He was living in the Bronx. He actually saw the towers go down in 9/11. And then like 8 months later, he's like, I'm joining the military. So this guy actually had military training. And as you watch the movie, you're like, which feels
That
very
whole
Call of
team was
Duty.
legit.
It felt very Call of Duty. But like, yeah, that guy
that'd be
was
the
totally
highlight of the
legit.
movie, no doubt.
And then he also said that like while they're shooting the movie, Jean-Francois was like, all right, I want you to shoot this guy like 3 times, like pew pew pew. And Remy's like, hold on. Can I say something? Can I give you my opinion? Would you like to hear? And he's like, sure. And he's like, in reality, if I was gonna, take some guy out like that, I would slow down and then get his target and then hit him with a headshot. And he's like, Francois was like, oh, that's perfect. Let's do that. And so it ends up in the movie.
Okay.
Also, the one thing that I stunt-wise that stuck out to me in the whole movie, not even the end of the movie stuck out to me. I enjoyed the end, but as far as stunts goes, you had the Gerard Butler wrestling the pirate, and that's like a 2-minute fight scene. Gerard Butler actually did do that scene with a stuntman.
That was a good scene.
So that was actually, I thought that was actually, generally
it was all
good.
one take, right?
Yeah. And that was actually the first 2 days of shooting. That's what they shot, were that stunt scene. So,
but it was odd because that stood out as they did it one time, and then it was like, all right, let's not do that again. That was a very stylistic.
As far as the rest of the movie,
and then it never came back.
Yeah, like
which is
like,
kind of
like you're saying, like if you're doing a John Wick thing, you're like, that's throughout the entire movie as far as that style goes. But in
look
this
at all
movie,
this
it's
style.
Like, we got one.
All right, we did
one
that. Check it off the
styly
list.
thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we also got that weird POV shot from one of the mercenaries. Did you notice that?
I
That
don't
was
remember
interesting.
that.
It was like
And
a
I'll be
GoPro
honest,
shot.
guys,
I was like, oh, suddenly we're in like that rock movie, Doom or whatever
Yeah,
it
I
was.
don't remember.
SP's like, that was way too specific. I know, because I wasn't anticipating Charlie and Nan's reaction to this movie. I really came into this thinking like they might actually like this movie. So,
well, kick it to Nance.
I'm gonna kick it to Nance. Booby, what'd you think of this movie?
I thought it was fine. I wouldn't say it was bad.
Fine. Yeah, exactly. Fine. And
I want to go to the movie theater, eat some popcorn, and watch a.
If you have no other choice, if you have no, if
you haven't seen Megan already, if you
going,
haven't seen any other movies you want to see,
or
and you
stay
want to go to the
home and play
theater,
video games, like
it's fine.
It's fine. It's not one of those movies where I walk out and I'm passionately hating it. Like, oh, I can't wait to just express my feelings about how much I hate this. I'm like, I walk out and I'm like, it's fine. But it's everything I said in my opener. It's just it's so plain and generic and forgettable, and it's a typical January release. That's it.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
it's not bad. It's not like offensively bad or memorable or good or anything. It's like,
I'm very surprised.
Before we move on though, would you recommend it, Nance? Would you?
I would recommend it to my dad.
McCurdy?
Because he's the type to watch Rambo 4 like
I would
10
wait
times
till
in a
it
year.
comes out on streaming and recommend it to my dad.
I would say I would
wouldn't go see it in theater.
I won't.
Don't pay
recommend to anybody,
$20 or whatever a movie ticket costs to see it.
I would say no. I would say, Dad, go watch a better movie called Behind Enemy Lines that actually has like a full-on story with characters that you care about, and
go watch
elements
Castaway.
Elements that congeal. There's nothing in this movie that congeals or feels cohesive. There's no setup and payoff. There's no characterization of anybody. Nothing thematic or meaningful. It's just just kind of like generic. Here's an action premise, and then everybody gets away. Spoilers from here on out. Everybody, like 2 people die right away. Like they shoot a woman for running. They cut another guy's head off. Nobody else dies. We never once sit with the passengers and just get to know them. There's only one passenger where you're like, I know this character, and he's the guy who's right away, he's cleaning the seat and he's complaining a lot. It's like, okay, he's going to be the Mr. Annoying guy who might be tested in the end, or maybe, he'll be comedic relief or whatever. There's none of that. It is just pure fuck you, it's January. No effort was put into the script. All the effort was put into the action, and the action is maybe fun the shootout at the end, but that's not enough for me to tell my dad to watch it. I mean, no, go watch Behind Enemy Lines. You know?
Yeah, it's like I wouldn't recommend this movie to someone because I thought 60% of it was pretty decent. Like I did like everything from the beginning up until they crash. Like all of that's fine. I did like the fight scene between Gerard Butler and that other guy you guys already touched on, and then I did like the whole escape scene at the end. It was all right. But in terms of all the characters, like you were saying, Char, we don't like sit down and really get to know any of them. And it seems like almost in the real world, all these passengers would have gotten on this plane, put on noise canceling headphones, and gone to sleep. And it seems like that's just how they are throughout the rest of this movie. They just like have noise canceling headphones on. And I have, as an audience member of the movie, I have noise canceling headphones on. I'm just like watching a movie on a plane about a plane. And I'm just like, all right, well, at least I'm almost at my destination.
Okay, so I don't need to get as drunk. You guys, I don't have to get as drunk as I thought I did, right?
Yeah, no.
Like I literally, like, I'm not kidding. I literally put these notes together because I'm like, I just
did you think we're gonna come in here saying this
I thought you guys were gonna
movie.
be like, you're gonna like throw some hat trick and be like, oh no, this movie's actually good and all this other stuff.
No.
And then I was like,
No.
I'm like, you guys are like, no, it's fine. I'm like, that's exactly how I felt. I will. Here's
Happy
what I wrote.
fuck you. It's January.
This is what I wrote. This is what I wrote.
Yeah,
I said, while I put this movie in the good category because it's not. I've seen better. I have seen worse movies. This isn't the worst.
It's not good. You should put it in the not bad category. It's not good.
Not bad.
Just put it in not bad.
Whatever. I said I don't think
not
it was
terrible.
an amazing movie. Yes, the action is realistic, which I want to harp on. I want to harp on realistic for a second. Yes, there's that 2-minute one-take fight was fantastic. Yes, Gerard Butler's performance was superb. I think the film's over-reliance on making everything realistic bogs the movie down for me. I get it that this isn't Arnold Schwarzenegger mowing down bad guys, but I don't need to be reminded by the characters of that like constantly. I got annoyed when Michael Coulter is like, "What are you gonna do? Like run in there?" And I felt like every 2 minutes when you were like, "Yeah, in another action movie, like something badass would happen here," you'd be like, "Oh no, realism! Like we gotta throw the realism in here. That's not how that works in the real world." And I was like, "Okay, I get it, but like, don't tell me that while I'm watching the movie because then now I know that you're trying to let people know that you're like." This is real, and like knowing the directors, like we're trying to make this as realistic as possible. It just drove me.
That
part drove me nuts.
He's like, oh, and he's like holding him back. Because, hey, dude, if you run in there, they're just gonna mow you down. Yeah, that is. I'm fine with that because that is like the cooler heads prevailing of let's formulate a plan. But then even when they go in there with their plan, it really is just like at that point you don't really.
I'll go in there and stop them, and you guys drive away. And I was like, "What? That's the plan?" And I felt like they weren't. And I agree with you. I agree.
And it didn't even feel like that plan happened. Like the van never took off until. So the order of events is they get them out of they sneak into the enemy camp. They get to a little prison cell thing with everybody in it. They get everybody out. They get everybody onto a bus, and then it's like, oh no! If we try to drive out of here, all those guys are going to mow us down. Gerard Butler, Captain Torrance, I'm going to go and distract them by turning myself in. You guys drive off. But then they didn't drive off. So it was like even like the plan that they put into motion. Suddenly you're like, wait, go. Start driving. They're all distracted. Go. Because the movie needed them to wait for Delta Force to show up to start shooting everybody.
And then they did the same plan, but on a plane.
And then I got annoyed.
Real quick,
I also got annoyed. I wanted another action.
He wants to know Man Called Otto or this. I haven't seen Man Called Otto, but go see that rather than this. Better or worse than Olympus Has Fallen?
Charlie,
Definitely
I wouldn't say that.
Definitely.
I wouldn't be so confident.
I don't know. I don't know anything about Man Called Otto, but go see it and report back.
Of the movies that came out this week, it was like this.
It was Tom Hanks.
It was either
more of a lower, but
A Man Called Otto and some other movie with Aubrey Plaza and some.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm saying
House
Party came out.
Of the movies that came out this week, this might be the best choice. But
House Party came out. If you wanted to see a comedy, we could have seen that. Also,
I think SB. I think overall,
I wanted to see that.
SB. I don't know if it could be a budget thing. He's asking between something like this and John Wick, what is going to differentiate it? And in terms of the action.
It is.
And
I would
think
say it's partly the budget.
it could be
but
budget, but it's also going
to
to be director,
style,
and it's going to be talent, and it's going to be story, it's going to be script, it's going to be those
I mean,
things. This
here's
had
the
a
thing.
terrible script.
I think the story was interesting. Like, I remember watching the trailers. I'm like, okay, that might actually be pretty good. And I was like, as thinking in the terms of like a Taken 1, as far as just like a really kind of low budget action movie.
the whole plane is taken.
And I was like, okay, this could be cool. But I felt like the movie took forever to start because I felt like that whole plane thing. I didn't really give a shit about them on the plane.
I
wanted
the plane going down. I liked that.
I wanted the plane going down.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I'm saying what I'm saying is I felt like between the moment of them getting on the plane till the time the plane crashes, I felt like it'd take a really long time. And I was like, because I'd seen the trailer and I knew, okay, this plane crashes, something bad happens, because the premise of the movie is Gerard Butler and Mike Coulter team up, Leonidas and Luke Cage team up to fight some really shitty villains who don't have a great backstory, even though the press kit says they do and they don't. They have to fight them. Money. I'm like, that was the story. Of course they want money. But that was the story. Well, I mean, and I just felt like we never got there quick enough. And I was like, oh, okay. Then because we didn't get there quick enough, the rest of the movie, and the movie's an hour 47. It's not a 2-hour movie. I really do think there was like that. This movie felt like, it felt like it. But I do feel like there were scenes with the passengers that we didn't get. Because I agree with you. Like, it's not like Lost where you get to meet everybody on. I mean, of course, this isn't a TV show, but like on Lost, you get to meet everybody. You got to understand, like, they had a little bit of backstory or something. This movie, they didn't have that. Like, it may have been more interesting had like all of the passengers had gotten kidnapped, and then they all had something interesting to do that you're like, oh, I drive it. There's that one moment where the guy's like, I can drive anything. There's that one point where Han Solo's like, I can drive anything. And you're like, what was maybe, that?
What's really your name? Where did you come from?
Charlie and I laughed at that guy. Like, what?
Two things with everything you just said. The first is SB's asking, did they do the whole, I have a family waiting for me? That would be one element for why, for something that was completely ineffective and a waste of time, was everything having to do with, I have to get back to my daughter and all that, because the daughter had no weight. I mean, even emotional weight. There just wasn't anything there. It was like, okay, at one point he calls her, but that was so insignificant and redundant because they had this team and remember, because he calls the airline and then because he finds a phone, he calls the airline and then he calls his daughter. So it's just redundant. It wasn't even like the daughter rushing into the airline and being like, I got a call. No, you can't come in here. My dad called. You got to let me in. Like, that didn't happen. And that's where
it happens behind
the whole
scenes,
movie feels that cheap. The whole movie just feels like, well, we only have this girl for a day. So we shot all her scenes in a day. And just throughout the movie, that same feeling of like, not even budgetary restrictions, but just laziness of not having all these elements like come together. And then
you feel like
what else you said though about the passengers? The fun element with these movies, a plane crashes in the middle of nowhere. The fun is having this cast of a bunch of people get on a plane and they're all strangers. Little do they know they're going to crash and then they're going to be stuck with each other. And this guy doesn't like that guy. And these people cut each other in line at the whatever back at the airport and all this stuff.
And there's a prisoner on
top of them being in survival mode, where they go through all the suitcases and they start wearing shorts on their heads because they don't have hats and they need to start the fun thing is that the smallest little thing, like, okay, this pen has all kinds of utility because we don't have any resources. So this pen is now a weapon to stab something for food or a fish or something. Like, point being that even something like there was that moment where he took off Gaspar's Brodie took off Gaspar's handcuffs. And I was like, oh, now he has these handcuffs that are kind of a symbol of authority. And if any of these passengers acts out, he can exercise that authority by, oh, no, he just threw them away.
He just
took these handcuffs and just threw them away. And it's like, dude, you could use, like, those could have come. No, he just threw them away. They could have come into play, but he got rid of it. And then the same thing with the walkie-talkie. He literally says, "Is there any use for this walkie-talkie?" And Gaspar says, I don't know. Do you speak their language? And he's like, no. And he throws it away. I'm like, all these elements that could come into play later, like what a good scriptwriter would do, a little set up a payoff.
That to me is the real.
All is thrown out the window.
But
that
like
sucks.
That, Charlie,
I don't
movie...
want that level of realistic. That's a bad story.
Is the director obsessed with planes?
Realism
like he spends 45 minutes on this whole process of taking off and not crashing, which I did enjoy.
Like it takes that's what drove me nuts, because the movie's an hour 47 minutes. Okay, if I pull out my stupid here, wait, where is it? Hold on, don't move. I'm gonna pull something out, and you guys are gonna be like, what the hell is that,
Can
Ryan?
we shorten that
This
and get
stupid
more
book. All right, this
Save
is
the
the
Cat.
dumbest book in Hollywood. Okay, it's called Save the Cat. Right? You go through this book, and there's it literally just tells you, like, some screenwriters hate this book.
Then your
Most
character
screenwriters
should do
actually hate
this, and then
book.
this should happen.
Yeah. So like, and they will break it down to page. They'll be like, this should happen at this page. Like, this happens in this stupid book, right? The thing that drove me nuts about this movie is, like, yeah, the like, when you watch the trailer, you're like, oh, them on the island, that's going to be the movie. That's the movie. That's the fun and games. That's the reason I came to see this movie. It takes 45 minutes to get to this. This movie's an hour and 47 minutes. Okay. That should have happened like 20 minutes in. I should already be crashed on this island.
That's what I mean. Had they not had the daughter and they just went right to takeoff.
They also didn't, you know what else they didn't need? I felt like they didn't need the crisis manager. I felt like that added a whole other element to the story where you're like, you're taking away from the passengers. And I honestly
should be sitting with the passengers. Like, okay, real quick. The movie, we said the movie Plane is just that. It's plain, it's generic, it's bad. An improvement, even though it is just as simple, could have just been the passengers, something like that, because the whole movie is about this captain. He's like, I got to defend my passengers. They're my people. Like, this responsibility he has to the passengers. And then, meanwhile, we're sitting with the passengers while they're in jail. We're getting to know them. Already, that's a better movie than a movie just called Plane. You know, something a little more meaningful. But that's my point, is that this is one of those movies that you can almost guarantee that the original script was a different title. And then after a while, they're like, we can't, whatever emergency alert or whatever you said. And then it's like, we can't sell that. How about just Plane? Nobody's ever made a movie called Plane. Well, yeah, they never made that movie because it's fucking boring,
Well, it's funny is the title, that's the actual foreign language title. Like, if you go to anywhere across the seas, that's the poster, and then that's the title. Yeah. It's still, I mean, it's like slightly better than just Plane, but yeah, I don't know. It's definitely one of those. I think one reviewer called it just above the direct-to-video DVD market. Like,
yes, just above.
Just above, barely. Yeah. Plane down.
Yeah, plane down. Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yep. So we already talked about Brodie. I mean, overall, the whole thing with his daughter was just cheap in the end. It would have been, I would have rather a story where, like, his whole family's dead and that's why he feels so compelled. It was so responsible for the passengers or something like that. Like, give him a damaged past rather than I got to get back to my daughter, who the daughter doesn't even plug into the plot at all. Like, you could cut her out of, you could do a fan edit where you just trim her out entirely and the story wouldn't know the difference.
My wife died 3 years ago. My daughter sends me a Snapchat that I never watch.
Yeah, exactly. She records a Snapchat and it was like, this is so cheap. She's like, Dad, I just, but, and even stuff like that. Sometimes I get annoyed with the amount of iPhone usage in movies, because it maybe I'm just like not a zoomer, but it just always comes across as kind of lame to me. Like, I get it. It's hip. But the beginning of the movie is him walking through the airport on FaceTime, and I'm already kind of rubbed the wrong way when I see that. But anyway, so Captain Torrance aside, Gaspare, same issues here. Gaspare is the promise of the story is Gaspare is this guy with we don't know his past, and he'll redeem himself. Is he a violent criminal, or does he have a heart of gold and he's going to come through and save the day? And that, like, really none of that. I mean, yeah, he helps, like, but there's absolutely zero arc there where there was, you know, a good and maybe you can call it cliche, but that doesn't mean that it would make for a bad story. It always makes for a better story where these two guys butt heads at first, where he's like, you know, the only thing is where he's like, I need you to help me. He's like, what's in it for me? That's it. That's the only time they butted heads. Other than that, they were best friends right away. And it just made it plain. Again, it's just plain. Just, hey, buddy, I need you to help me.
Charlie,
okay, did we just become best friends? You know,
I was thinking that.
Fine.
Charlie, did you think it was funny that the movie has to set up that Gerard Butler has one move? He's got one move. He can choke people.
He can choke people.
He's good at choking people. He's got one move. We got to set this up in the movie. Oh man, I like. He can choke people. We got to put this in the movie. And then
Coulter's like, "How about we kill them instead of choke them out?
Like let's slice their throats." You're like, "Whoa."
Yeah, but there was also, there wasn't anything for Coulter, for Gaspar, like you know, a little, even a hint of like a Sewatenejo type of thing, right? Where it's like, if I only had the means, I would go do this, and then at the end of the movie, he runs off with $500,000, and it's
I hated that.
Maybe
I hated that.
You know,
I hated it because I hated the end of the movie because. Spoilers, they get away, but like there's this dumb moment where he's like, I need to reload, you got any more ammo? And he's like, there's some in that bag over there. So Luke Cage saunters over, looks at the bags that I missed this part of the movie when they land, so I have no idea how they crash land on that, or how the mercenaries got on the island. I had to go to the bathroom. So there's all these boxes.
We'll tell you when you're done.
There's all these boxes, and so then he sees. And they'd already established they had this $500,000 because they're like, oh, we might have to use this to pay the pirates off. And he opens the bag and he sees the $1 million. And we're like the end of the movie, in the middle of a firefight. And he's looking at this bag, like, and they hold on that shot for way too long. And then they're like, oh, but then he didn't. He gets the other bag. You know, and like, Charlie, this kind of goes back to what you had said in the last one, where they could have just like not cut to him, you know, looking at the other bag. Like it could have just been like he looked at that bag, we didn't know what happened, and then he starts firing again. You're like, oh, he decided to choose the right side or whatever. And then when he leaves, you're like, what happened to him? Like he just kind of runs off in the woods. And then even in the story, he's like, well, I'm not gonna, like earlier in the story, he's like, I'm not gonna run off because I don't know this jungle. I don't know where I'm at. I'm not gonna do that. And then what does he do at the end of the movie? He runs off into the jungle. He doesn't know
he took all that paper so he could build a fire. He's like, great, I can make fire with this. But he runs off into the jungle, and he's
I'm gonna assume he went.
We're supposed to assume that he had enough money to find his way to somewhere and pay somebody to take him. But it is just like there's no. This movie screams first draft, where there's all these elements that would have clearly been. All these strands that would have been tied together over more and more drafts, but instead, because that's a good idea. Oh, these mercenaries had $500,000, and then he's going to find it and he's going to take off with it. But even something like some kind of hint early on, some setup to that payoff. But this whole movie, there's no effort put into that, and that's why it's like. That's why I wouldn't recommend it to my dad. There are so many other movies for you to watch that are much better. I mean, again, my brain goes straight to Behind Enemy Lines. This movie is just like that, minus there being a bunch of passengers. But yeah, crash landing in enemy territory and a lot of setup and payoff, a lot of characterization, a lot of going through some shit.
About the Owen Wilson movie?
Yeah, that movie rocks.
That's a great movie.
Fantastic. Whereas with this,
never seen it.
I don't know who any of these people are. I barely even know who Captain Torrance is because it's just I have a daughter.
Scottish.
I have a daughter. That's it, and he's Scottish. So but overall, Gaspar, yeah, and he could choke people. Gaspar was where the movie would have been fun for these guys to be put in a position where they over time began to work together, but they become best friends immediately. And
That's
that's that.
Charlie. I feel like when they say, because people are saying, "Oh, this movie's well paced," I'm like, again, it's not. I wanted more of like from the moment they team up, and then the passengers are taken away. There should have been, like, I agree. There should have been more between them rescuing the passengers, because it feels like it happens. Like they find them.
No problems.
They're like
Yeah.
we
And
gotta
everything
get, like,
went perfectly well.
yeah, in a
We
better
all went
movie,
home.
in a better movie, he would have been like, you can't go out there. And he's like, why not? It's like, you're not trained. You don't even know what the fuck you're doing. And there would have maybe been a training, or like he would have shown him like, this is what you need to do to kill somebody, or he trained him to something to set it up, right? That's a really bad example, but something.
Yeah,
And then
hold
there
your
would have been
gun like I'm doing it.
some other obstacle before they got there, because obviously they had to drive to this place. So, and they allude to like, oh, they're going to put them on the boats. Like, there could have been a boat chase in this movie, and we never got that. I was mad. I was like, oh, they're not going to use those boats.
Like making
no boat chase,
like
nothing.
to your point, how simple would it have been to instead of showing that whole like Gerard Butler knows how to choke people, instead he really is just like a
normal,
not a wimp, but he's just a normal guy. He's just a pilot. Yeah. And then maybe he hold his own for a bit. And I was expecting it. I was expecting Gaspare to come in and to save his ass. But instead, Gerard Butler takes care of that first guy all on his own, which, by the way, I was cracking up because he finds this phone, right? This very valuable phone, because it's going to rescue him. And he rips it off the wall, like for no reason during the fight. He rips it off the wall so he can reach a gun, but the phone wasn't even in the way. I mean, I read that right? Like, he's fighting this guy and he reaches up and
I think he's
rips
like
the
desperately
phone out of the
reaching
wall.
for the gun, and he's like, I can't get to the gun. I need something.
But he still ripped the phone out of the wall. Like, that was a terrible way. Like, okay, there's a fight and the phone breaks. That's easily done without making Torrance look like an idiot. But anyway, so they have a fight, and then Torrance kills the guy, and then Gaspare just walks in like, hey, good work. But and that would have set up a dynamic where it's like, okay, you are not a badass. Okay, turns out this prisoner is a badass, and like you said, he just hands him a gun. He's like, this is loaded, so you know how to use it, right? Oh yeah, you do. You already know how to do everything. Like, there was no dynamic between them.
No, I'll be honest. When I was watching the movie, I was like, is there something under here that we're not like? Were they supposed to allude that he had some kind of military training?
He did have military training. He was in the RAF or something, right?
No,
Torrance,
not Gaspare. Gerard Butler.
Yeah.
So he had something.
He was in the RAF, but the point is that take that away and just make him generic. He was in the
it would have
most
been
pilots
better
were in the Air Force, but then he's like an older guy, and he's he doesn't have to be a badass. Take away the element of him being a badass, and then let Gaspare be the muscle and even the brains who kind of helps him. And then there's a dynamic between the two of them where there can be some tension rather than both are badasses and both just run around shooting guns, right?
Yeah.
Like, make Torrance not as strong and make him just really driven, and then make Gaspare really strong and give him the Han Solo job of being like, I don't give a fuck about you people. I just want to get out of here. No, you have to help. Why should I help you? And then that's where he has to convince him, and that's how we build character, and that's how we build a dynamic between the two of them. Instead, there is absolutely none of that. They're both badasses, and they just both go do badass stuff, and it's like
maybe
empty.
The co-pilot is in Gerard Butler's shoes, and we don't have a Gerard Butler. And Coulter trains, hey, you gotta man up. This is your crew.
Kill off Gerard Butler. Kill him in the crash. Just kill him off, and then Gaspare has to train co-pilot. Like anything, like literally anything would have been a leg up. But okay, wait, what's this question from?
I actually have.
Do you guys think these films should start focusing and premiering on streaming services? I think we've got to the point where audiences would just wait until certain films are on some platform.
Okay, here's my point on that. I have a legitimate point about that. They're not going to do that. And here's the reason why. They've already, like, Warner Brothers has already kind of looked at this, and they're like, we're going to make more money if we put these in theaters and then put it to streaming than just putting things straight to streaming. Netflix already has this like Netflix is just hemorrhaging money right now. And part of the problem is they're putting a lot of money into these movies, even like these Gerard Butler action movies, like the one we're talking about. And people aren't going to see them because they're trying to rely on word of mouth to get people to watch these movies. And really, they're just trying to get stuff to get more subscribers. The problem is subscribers, the way that the streaming services work, they make more money when we get new subscribers. But it's not happening because they're just hemorrhaging money trying to make what sticks. What the smarter thing to do is still put something out into theaters because you get a wide audience. You get people, as Charlie and I have talked before, you get butts in the seats. You get people to see the movie at first, have our own little opinions so we can have our little YouTube show where we talk about how bad the movie is. And then like later, we can tell our dads, Nans and I can tell our dad, like, oh yeah, you should watch this on Netflix when it comes out in whenever that is going to be in April or
my dad would be like,
you know,
why did you recommend that movie? Was terrible. Why did you recommend that? well, I said if you had no other option, why would you still? That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Why would you still recommend it?
Right. Okay. But back to what Esper said.
You either recommend it or you don't. Throwing a bunch of caveats in there doesn't help anybody. Like,
no,
would you watch this movie again? No. Then don't recommend it to anybody, let alone your dad, who's going to regret siring you.
I don't think it's the worst. Again, I don't think it's the worst movie. If my dad wanted to watch something new, I'd be like, yeah, you could watch this. It's okay. Like, and there is entertainment value in it.
Then
like
he'll be
when
like,
the guy, hold on.
Son.
When the guy brings out
that,
you wasted 2 hours of my life.
My mom would be. My mom.
Your mom would love it. What are you talking about? Your mom loved
movies.
Underground. What was
She'd
that?
She'd be on her iPad the whole time. She would.
Your mom
she would hate this.
What are you talking about? Your mom loved that. Mom loved that. What was that Michael Bay movie? Come on. Your mom loved that. The Netflix Michael Bay movie
or something.
Yeah, your mom loved that movie. You told me about.
Oh my God, she was all about it, and I felt so bad. Like weeks later, my dad was like, Charlie fucking hates that. It's like, don't tell her. I don't want to ruin her buzz. She's so infatuated with that piece of shit.
Yeah, but Esther, just back to your point, I think the smarter studios are gonna like at least try to put it in the theaters. And I know people are like saying, "Oh, the theaters are dying," but like it is still a venue where people go to see movies and like to have something to do. So I'm like, what are you gonna do this weekend? Oh, I'll go see a movie, and you plan an evening around going to see a movie. And then you can form your own opinion and then wait till it comes out on streaming. Then you can watch it then. And then even if you don't go see it in theaters, then your friends who did see it in theaters can be like, yo, Charlie, that plane movie,
it was fine.
It fucking sucks.
It wasn't terrible.
It was a movie.
I have the AMC membership, so it's like whatever. I saw it.
There's always going to be utility to seeing something on the big screen. Big screens. Nans and I are sitting there, and all we hear the whole time is, and then somebody, that same people getting on their phones, and I do that. I'm always tempted to say something, and then they put it away. I'm like, okay, fine, but. There are times where I'm like, I want to stand up and be like, hey, what time is it? Do you have the time on your phone? What time is it on your phone? But they put it away, and I just go back to the movie. But it's
where's your guys' experience?
And there's something great about being in it. Like, okay, nowadays with this,
I mean, the theater seemed like it was relatively.
It's nice.
Full.
It's nice that a movie starts and it never stops, right? Because it disciplines us to not pause it for any reason. Because, you're especially when movies are like this, where there are a million reasons to pause it. No. It's this train ain't stopping. You sit, lights go down, movie plays, and then movie done.
Or if
I
you
appreciate
get married
that too,
and have
in this
kids,
ADD age.
Let's finish this later.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I do like going to the movies and just sitting down and enjoying. Even this movie, I was like, okay, I'm enjoying to just sit down and watch something, and then you're kind of like stuck, and you're like, okay, I got to analyze this whole thing as I'm watching it and think, really, really kind of study this movie.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it, but again, movie was fine. It was all right. Well, this was great.
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious.
I'm gonna go ahead and this. Unceremoniously, I'm just gonna put Plane at number 2.
Whoa.
Without even talking to you guys.
No, I agree.
I'm just gonna do it.
That was exactly.
It's AIN, Char.
100%.
Oh, plane. Oh wait, I went full screen accidentally. Plane.
I mean, it's pretty obvious. Megan.
No,
wins.
100% agree. 100% agree.
Yeah, and it'll probably stay down there all year.
So
Possibly.
anyway,
What
way
happens.
votes,
Pretty good.
enjoy the movie, or maybe
Yeah.
go see Megan, then see Plane.
I would. go
Hopefully he's
see-
not
I
still
still-
with us. Hopefully he's going to watch it right now, and then he'll catch up with us later. But yeah,
Yeah.
don't
fine.
recommend. Do not listen to McCurdy or Nans and recommend it to members of your family. Do not recommend it to anybody.
My dad needs a reason to go to the movie theater and eat movie theater popcorn.
Oh, to go
This
to
is
the movie
a
theater?
perfectly good movie to go and eat popcorn during.
Okay.
You guys are pathetic.
I agree. No,
I don't
Nans,
know.
I
I
agree
mean, I
with you.
guess it wasn't terrible.
But
this
Charlie,
is not a good movie
Charlie,
by any
Charlie.
stretch of the imagination.
Charlie,
It's not
if your
bad.
dad, okay, if your dad, we're talking about movies in theaters. If your dad was
Okay.
going to the movie theater, what would you recommend him to go see, knowing your dad having a little bit older taste, maybe not being, I don't know
Guys,
what your dad,
Every
I don't know
single
refined
week,
gentleman.
every week, you can pose the same question. Well, compared to other movies, how about not compared to any other movies and just focusing on this movie as it is? There are a million other movies that are so much better that nobody should waste their time with this, regardless of what else is coming out alongside it, right? I don't care about other movies coming out alongside it. Just don't go see this movie if you want to see a good movie. If you want to go see a bunch of meaningless shooting that you have to wait an hour to get to, then sure, go see it, Dad. Or just watch Behind Enemy Lines and have a good night watching Behind Enemy Lines and not wasting your time with this piece of shit.
I'm so shocked. I'm still like, I'm just.
Why did?
I'm
Okay,
in
yeah, that's a
shock.
good
I'm
question.
in shock.
Why did you think that Nans and I would like this?
I don't know. I mean, it's just maybe the type of movie that it is, where it's just like straight up, there's no
'Cause we're
political
dumb.
undertones. It's straight up just
I did
two
appreciate
guys killing things.
I appreciated no stupid messaging. This was just movie.
It wasn't
this
a,
was
it
just
was,
movie.
Just knowing you,
without
knowing
any
how you
bullshit.
are.
I like that.
You're like, no bullshit. This movie's no bullshit. It's just.
But
and
that's
it felt
a
like a Call
starter.
of Duty. Towards the end of the movie,
That's
it
a
was like,
starter.
oh, this movie turns to Call of Duty. So I was like, I wonder if they're gonna actually like this.
And it was
movie.
cool.
I will
like
say,
the
cool.
my
You can
actually
watch cool stuff on
really do-
YouTube. You
I
can
really
go
did
play.
like
You
the,
can go play Call of Duty, and playing Call of Duty is better than this movie mimicking Call of Duty. That's
What
my
was that? A
point.
50 cal?
I'm not gonna
Was that a
recommend a movie just
There-
because.
Man,
cal.
what was
It was
that? A 30
okay.
cal, 50 cal?
50.
What was that? That was a 50 cal?
Yeah,
It was like a
50
50 cal
yeah.
sniper rifle.
Barely.
Shooting
That was
through a
cool.
car. Like, yeah,
I mean,
That
that's
part
what
was
it's
cool.
for.
Yeah,
And then
that was cool.
I mean, that guy
did
who
have
shot
there
should have
was
just
a
evaporated, but whatever.
There's a fantastic unintentional. I think I already said an unintentional funny moment, but there was another. The best unintentional funny moment of the movie is when the whole thing is that the plane gets struck by lightning, so all the avionics, all the electricity goes out, so they're flying blind.
Surely that's not a
and
thing.
they got to find a place to land. Well, they're going down, right? They're brace. Everybody's bracing for impact. But all the same, the two girls are on their phones as the plane's going down, and one looks at the other and goes, "Oh my God, my phone's not working." That was the funniest thing. And they clearly didn't intend for the joke to be that even though they're gonna die, they're like, "I can't text my boyfriend," but that's how it came across, and that was
Yeah.
good.
Comes across like
Unintentionally,
I can't go
hilarious.
live on Instagram.
Exactly.
Okay,
Like
so-
I can't live stream my death, but it was
It would
but
get so many
like
views.
even at the end, like it felt like we're just going through the motions. Everybody the plane lands, everybody claps, and they're like the two girls are like, "Oh my God, you landed the plane." It was like
Yeah.
I don't know who any of these people are. I don't care. I'm ready
Don't
to
care. No, yeah, Shirley, I wrote this down when I was writing my notes about the movie. I said they feel very. I said I wonder if there was a 2-hour cut of this film, You had a large cast of passengers. Some have their characteristics like the rich business guy or the girls on vacation. But that's about it. They feel very one-dimensional. And when Gerard Butler says, "What about their families?" I wish I cared, but I just don't. Like, that is exactly how I felt. I was like, I don't care. Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Which actually reminded me, okay, this is like beating a dead horse at this point. But when it came to those two girls, when I saw the trailer, I was thinking, like, this is going to be kind of like, it reminded me of like Taken as far as like the level of action. It's not like a big 100, it's not $100 million action movie. It's like a lower budget action movie. And I was wondering are they going to like traffic these girls? Like, is this going to be a part of the movie? And it's like, they're hinting towards it, but they never say it. Like, it never goes there. And I was like, the better movie would have went there where like, that was some dark shit, but they don't.
When did they hint at that?
Let's kill somebody.
They don't. Okay. Like, Nance, they don't ever really hint at it, but it's like, it's safe to assume that like
these hot underage girls,
all these,
who are playmates. I say because they're playmates, but these hot, like in the movie, underage girls, and who are, forgive my terminology, ripe for sex trafficking, are in this camp with all these guys who just look like they're ready to make the RAPE, and then nothing comes of that. And that's the thing. They kill. They kill two people right away, and then there's nothing.
But
two people right away, and then nothing.
Yeah.
Well, nobody ever dies.
No, remember Taken?
Brody and wait, what is it?
I keep bringing back Taken. Remember Taken? Like, they had scenes where they like heavily imply what actually happened, and I was like, they could have done that with this movie. It's rated R. I know it's like heavy subject matter, but like that would have raised the stakes. Why the hell they need to get out of here?
They could have threatened the obvious.
If we could have
not
more
made good on it.
Leonidas and Luke Cage, they happen upon that assassination scene. Well, I don't know why they leave the camera there for one, but they find all the passports. There's blood on the wall. It's pretty obvious what happened. But we should have been told as an audience a bit more. Like maybe the guy in the boardroom, the like disaster dude, like, oh yeah, like we find out more about that from him because I think some of them were Americans.
Some escalation. At a certain point, there wasn't any more escalation.
Like, who was that group?
Wasn't any more like, oh my god, this problem goes deeper than we thought. None of that. It was just it was this. It was plane goes down. Let's go find a phone. They go find a phone. They find some guns. They come back. Passengers are taken. Then they go take back the passengers and they leave. Like it was just it was like no escalation, no ascent. Just
Charlie, this is why you're wrong.
Just flatline the whole movie.
This is why you're wrong, Charlie. There was more planes in this movie, and there were.
Scott's mom is watching.
I really
Scott's
wish
mom
Scott
is watching.
Was on
If
here.
you want to do a,
I really wish Scott was on here because bigger planes. As I was watching, I was like, bigger planes. That gunfight was Call of Duty. Bigger guns.
Yeah,
it would have been awesome.
Yeah, but
I have a question about Gerard Butler's career. Why is he in all these movies like this? Like London Has Fallen.
Pays the bills, man. He's producer on this. I'm sure he makes a ton of money off of movies.
Is he a bad actor?
I don't think he's bad.
He's by no means.
Why can't he get?
I also think
decent work.
No, okay. Here's the thing. Knowing what I know about Sean Connery, as we talked about the Bond, Connery was Scottish. He was very proud of being a Scotsman. I kind of assume the same with Gerard Butler because Chris Cummings, who wrote the screenplay, also Scottish. So me putting two and two together, I think he did this movie because he's like, oh, it's for Scotland. And they make a point. He's like, I wasn't in the British Air. I was, I'm from Scotland and everything. And
I wouldn't lower myself to saying I'm English.
I don't know,
something like that.
I feel like
if only they would have crashed on like a remote island in Scotland and all these like brutish cave dwelling.
I know how to live here. Suck the
prehistoric Scots. Yeah, but I mean I don't know. I think it's a simple. It reminds me of Mila Jovovich, where they become producer and they're getting a little older, so they Mila Jovovich doing a million Resident Evil movies with her husband Paul W.S. Anderson, and they rush out a script, and they just make sure that they're pumping movies out all the time so they can keep their name in the spotlight, regardless of the quality of the movie. Maybe some hit, some are misses, but overall, it just keeps their name in the limelight. It keeps the bills paid, and it's just cashing in on. I mean, like, why is it that Bruce Willis started doing terrible movies?
Well, he's not even doing movies now.
He's retired for health reasons, but I'm talking about right up to it. He was cashing in. He was just cashing in, and especially when you're producer, like the fact that I keep wanting to say Brodie, the fact that Leonidas also produced this just proves my point further, or pushes it further, where we're not here to make a wonderful piece of art. We're just here to make some entertainment for one weekend, and you'll watch it once and you'll forget it. But my career continues on. He's an older guy and now he's producing stuff, and maybe he shouldn't be doing action movies. I don't know, but
whatever.
Movies.
I agree.
Yeah, go back.
The budget for this movie is not high. Like, it wasn't a high budget. It wasn't a very expensive movie. I mean,
here's SB. It makes a killing in Asia and Africa. Boom, done. You make for how much money did they spend on this versus how much time did they put into it? And they make a ton of money.
Yeah.
Who cares if it's good quality? You're laughing your way to the bank.
Movies?
And then if you make enough money, you can go off and make a passion project. Every single actor is guilty of working on money makers, and then they go make their passion project with the money. But this just screams.
Yeah, a movie
generic.
like this is like it's easy to understand in any audience, because there's, like you said, there's no scene. We don't get that scene where we get to hear the businessman's backstory where his daughter hates him and like his wife divorced him and that's why he's an asshole. Like, we don't get that scene.
Yeah.
So because we don't get this dialogue scenes, we like understand really easily, like, he's the asshole. These are the two hot chicks. This family, these two Asian couple,
we get the one dimension.
Head got cut off.
We get the one. We get the first dimension.
Simple.
We don't get the second.
Anybody
or third
can figure the movie out. Like, you don't have. It doesn't matter. You can watch this movie on mute. You would understand the movie, but it doesn't necessarily have like a nuance to it. So you're just like, oh.
How long does it take to establish a character? Like, you couldn't do it for all of them, right?
A
in
scene?
A 2-hour runtime.
No. Establish a character in a scene.
Like, make the beginning 20 minutes. That gives us 25 more minutes to like establish characters.
Well,
more.
That's why I was saying, like, this movie could have been 2 hours originally, and they cut some stuff out. And I also think that all of the stuff, the crisis management stuff, I felt like diverted the focus of the movie, because then we're like, this is my logic and my thinking about it. This director wanted to make this movie as realistic as possible. And no, Charlie, like, you're like, well, I like that. It's like realistic, but it was like trying to say, oh, we're not going to do the one-man army thing that we see in most action movies. So we're going to bring a mercenary group to like circumvent that completely. So we have to set that whole thing up. And then we have this other thing that's kind of a lazy way of setting up Gerard Butler's character and doing all that stuff. Instead of doing that, like, take that out, focus on the passengers, focus on the people on the ground, like maybe give them more to do other than just set some stuff up. And then, like, it just so happens that they called, like, oh no, we got your message, and then it's like a surprise at the end of the third act.
Would that not have been fantastic if we really think that Gerard Butler is about to get it, and then out of nowhere these soldiers show up? We got your message.
Like, we got your message.
We've been sent by the airline or whatever. We're a private contractor. However, that information would be divulged, but all that tension is ruined by constantly cutting back to the crisis management people who were, to your point, ultimately irrelevant. And wouldn't it have been great to just stay in the wild with these people? They're in the hot, sweaty wild as they're fighting with each other, but instead we're cutting to the daughter, who was pointless and cheap. And we're cutting to the crisis management people which had a really good actor. They should have taken that. What's his name again? They should have taken that actor and put him. He should have been a passenger on the plane.
Yeah, no, I liked him.
He would have
Tony Goldwyn. Actually,
he would have been great.
The other guy was Paul Ben Victor, was the guy who played the airline owner or whatever. The guy who's head of the airline. Both of them, I've noticed. Like, I recognize both of them. Like, I've seen them in things. I couldn't specifically tell you what. But yeah,
take everybody. How about this? Take everybody. Even take the daughter. everybody who was an actor in the crisis room, put them
Yeah.
all on the plane, crash the plane, and just focus on everybody post crash. And then Gerard Butler's, he's like Gaspar, you got to help me. Oh, why should I help you? They have my daughter, bro. They have my daughter. I don't give a shit about your daughter. I don't give a shit about you. It's my daughter. Maybe they fight, and he's just like, however he convinces them. But not only do they have my passengers, but they have my daughter too. Like, already I care more, and then you have better.
Maybe his
actors
wife
and all
dies
that
in
as
the
well.
plane crash instead of
Great.
3 years
Great.
earlier of cancer.
Oh, that's fantastic. Because okay, real quick too, that where the whatever it was, the U.S. Marshal, whoever it was that was transporting Gaspar, was like so the plane is just like turbulence, right? Like turbulence. And he drops his phone and he's like, oh shit. And he gets out of his seat to go retrieve his cell phone. Why? I
hated that part.
If the cell phone for some reason was the electronic seal to keep his handcuffs on. He's got futuristic handcuffs that are controlled by his cell phone. Something with utility, but instead it was just his phone, and then he dies. Like that was.
You know what it could have been, Charlie? It could have been
then
a satellite phone.
And then Gaspar didn't even take. Like, she took the keys, right? She took the keys because she knew he's going to try to take the keys, but he still had a gun. Like, she should have taken the keys and the gun, or she takes the keys and then Gaspar takes the gun, and then no,
I'm trying to remember
dangerous
that.
criminal has a gun. Like he's like secretly has it, right? And then maybe at some point he pulls it out, even though he's handcuffed. But he's like, stay the fuck away from me. Like all these elements from like, oh shit, he's gonna get the gun. He's gonna get the gun. Doesn't get the gun. Like all these elements where I'm like, there might be some tension here. There might be something interesting. Nothing. Literally nothing of interest. No tying things together or any of that. It's just don't recommend it to your dad. Nobody recommend it to your dad.
Amen.
Don't listen to these two knuckleheads.
Amen.
Our dads don't care about that stuff.
Our dads
To Nico's point, go watch Nonstop or Air Force One. I don't even know about Nonstop. I think I probably saw it at some point, but I would watch Air Force One.
Dumb.
Any day I would watch Air Force One. That movie.
Go watch the first hour of.
Can I say a dumb comment? Can I be Scott for a
every
second?
week I'm like, no, Dad, you got to watch Saving Private. The first 30 minutes of Saving Private Ryan again. Char, I want to watch something new. No, you're just gonna watch Saving Private Ryan again.
Nothing that beats Saving Private Ryan came out. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that. Anyway, so the next movie, I don't know if you guys have anything.
Do we have any
the
leads?
next movie we're thinking about is we're thinking we'll go see Missing. Which
Missing
is the follow-up
so
to
I
that.
looked. I looked it up. I looked up
it?
more of the movie. So Missing is a sort of semi-sequel, like more of a standalone sequel. Same premise of the last movie of Searching, which came out 2018, 2019. It was basically two guys made this low budget movie where it all takes place on a computer screen. And it's a guy trying to find his daughter. That was the original movie.
I don't know how much I like computer screen movies.
This movie, I mean, they actually do some creative things with it. I remember listening to interviews about it. But this new one, I think there's more. It's less on the computer. Like, it's not just on the computer based off the trailer. It looks like they're going to do more with it. So there will be FaceTime videos and there will be, videos on the computer, and you'll see people searching things, but there'll also be like other footage of just everyday day stuff. But this movie's about a girl who's like a teenager. Her mom is going on vacation with like a fiance or somebody, and then they never return. And so she's like trying to figure out what happened to her mom. And then she discovers that her mom's boyfriend might not be who he says he is. And like, there's more to it. So the trailer looks pretty interesting.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Maybe they can do some fun stuff with it. I'm going to hold Nance's outlook on it, where it's like, it just seems like a cheap, just like gimmicky type of horror movie, but I'm open to it. Let's lock it in. Let's go see Missing.
Might as well.
I'm like,
I might I might watch Searching if I can find it before I go
I
see
watched
Missing,
that.
just to
I
see
do
it.
know I watched it, but I don't really remember.
I might watch
I'm not
Searching
driven
first.
to. If I like Missing, maybe I'll go search out Searching.
Okay.
But in the meantime, I'm just gonna go into Missing totally
It
blind.
sounds like it does. Yeah, and it sounds like it doesn't. They're not connected. It's just the way they're made.
just the same style,
are
same
connected.
filmmaker, same style.
And it's not the same. It's actually not the same directors. It's the story by the original filmmakers, and then they pawned it off to some other people to make the movie. But it is connected to it.
Well, do you guys have anything else to say about the plainest of plain movies?
Go see it if you haven't seen Megan yet.
Go see it in IMAX.
Just go see Megan again.
It's not even in IMAX. Stupid Avatar 2.
Go see it in IMAX.
Okay, a toast. I'm gonna suggest that we
Butler's
toast
career.
to. No, I suggest we toast to 50 cal snipers.
Because
that was
They were
was the
awesome. That was
highlight
the
of this
coolest part of the
movie.
movie.
Was the coolest part of the movie was the 50 cal sniper. Not I mean, watch a YouTube, watch the YouTube clip about the 50 cal sniper. Send that to your dad, and then say, "Don't see plane, just watch this," and your dad will be like, "You're a good son." So, to 50 cal snipers.
There you go.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Scott's in the audience, so real quick, just tell him he's a
Hey Scott, hey Scott's mom. I don't know.
I want to know what Scott thought of the movie.
No,
Scott had more.
Good night, everyone.
More Scotsmen.
More Scottish people.
More
Okay, good night.
Scottish